Allure is one of the best epics in the game, and I'm gonna prove it to you today and justify my choices all in one video. What's up, guys? MtgJedi here. How you doing today? Recently, I started a new free-to-play account in the Hell Hades free-to-play challenge, and I chose as my starting epic Allure. And that has fallen upon some criticism, and I feel the need to justify my choices in this full-length video. We're going to be on the free-to-play. We're going to be on my main account. Stick around till later in the video if you want to see some mid and end game strategies with her, as well as all of this early game goodness. Let's jump right in. Allure, in case you don't know, has one of the best A1s in the entire game, decreasing the turn meter individually 3 separate times, which gets around a lot of bosses' passives. And before those bosses had those passives, which we're going to talk about extensively today, you can manipulate their turn meter extremely well and basically never let them take a turn again. Also, she has a little version of decreased defense and a sleep to do some crowd control, help you get through waves quicker, etc. And a banger of an A3 that is going to ignore defense and hit very well. Another thing that I love about her as an early game pick is this accuracy in faction crypts that can help you with the rest of your team to really push and help with the gear requirements as well. She is pretty squishy with a base defense of 793, so a lot of times you don't build her with damaging stats, instead you build her defensively. But no matter how you build her, she's going to be impactful in so many areas of the game. So let's hop over and see my build on the free-to-play and what was it that I focused on with her, and then how can we improve that in the future. We'll definitely see that as well when we switch accounts. Okay, so as you can see, we're still very early game on this free-to-play account, but despite that, I still have 4 and 5 star and a 6-star piece on her. And this might be one of my biggest mistakes on the account, so I will show it to you. I happened to win some oils, and when I awakened this for the first time, it hit HP percent. Being that this is likely to be my fastest speed piece for a long time on this account, I went ahead and invested in here into that HP percent and then immediately regretted it. I could have just taken it to like level 2 and been happy and saved my resources for an actual good piece, but it's hard to take that back. Also, I'm not gonna probably rework this because it already has the best possible stats, right? We have the double speed, HP percent, and then the accuracy. And at level 16, if that were to hit something like defense percent or crit rate, crit damage, you know, something helpful, this would be a useful piece for a long time on my account. Either way, mistakes were made, but you definitely want crit rate gloves on her. These common gloves rolled pretty perfectly, and I would have been happy with much less here. Speed and accuracy were amazing, HP percent, crit damage, like so perfect, okay? And then the other pieces, speed on the boots. I'm not sure if I want to take boots to level 16 that are 4-star. I want to try to get 5-star ones. Recently got this out of the market with the accuracy there to help. We have a 4-star speed shield, which will need upgraded, and a 4-star perception weapon that for a 4-star piece has pretty good stats. Now, if you have it, you're going to want a blood shield ring on her. So check in your inventory from your clan versus clan stuff and see if you have that. We'll get back to that later. It's not essential, but it is important. When you're going to book her, it is not a need. You do not need to book her, okay? However, it is going to help, okay? You're going to get more damage, you're going to get more reliability on the A2, and more damage on the A3. I wouldn't book her unless you're significantly progressed in the game and you don't have other epics to book. As far as masteries go, you're probably going to want offense and support here. I really like the accuracy tree, and I'll show you what masteries I have on her when we switch accounts. But a lot of the times, just farming these first few masteries is very helpful, and I would kind of like to get Life Drinker here to help with the healing, although if she's placed in the right team, she will not need that. So why Allure? Why did I choose that? Well, everybody thinks that that's going to be because of Fire Knight, but believe me when I tell you that is not even close to the reason why I chose her. There's so many reasons why I chose her. Fire Knight is just one. Clearly, she is at her best here, and you can see that in whatever champions you have, she's going to help you in that team. Right now, I don't have enough survivability or enough damage to make it through the waves on the higher levels here, but once I have that, then I will be good to go. If I was allowed to, say, be using my Razzlevarg, which I'm not allowed to, or any other future legendaries that I would get, then this would make it a lot easier, but obviously I'm not allowed to do that on this account. Typically, when you are programming your team for these fights, you are going to want to come in here in basically every team and shut off the A2 and the A3 on round 3, which is your boss, so that she just does her A1. I'm not going to show the AI setup for all of the teams that I'm going to show today, but it's going to be the same, where we're just focusing on that A1 and controlling the turn meter. Now, we don't need to really see this run. I don't think that that's important, but obviously she is known very well inside of this game as a Fire Knight champion, but there's so much more to her. One of the main reasons why I chose her as my epic was because she progresses throughout the game very well in all of your teams, but also every single one of these campaign bosses can have their turn meter manipulated. So frequently I was pairing her with my Kale to manipulate the turn meter of all of these bosses and really lock them down. Especially on these dragons, it really helps. Against Bad Alcazar, he's going to be cleansing and healing so much less. All of these champions are taking so many fewer turns because she's manipulating their turn meter. And that is going to be the case for many areas in the game. Let's switch accounts and jump into all of the cool stuff that I have to show you on the main account as well. Okay, we're over on the main account, and we have what I like to call a very standard good build for her, and we have some extra stats in places where we don't need them, so that's a good opportunity for you to have some flexibility in your build. If you have a blessing on her, I do quite like Cruelty, but you can also go with Phantom Touch if you need extra hits in places like the Fire Knight's Castle. I love her in a shield set because often she is paired with Seer to clear waves. Even if she's not paired with Seer, this shield set is going to give you a lot of survivability in a lot of the content, and you'll be able to get to the boss more efficiently and more reliably. You can see on this account as well, I do have a blood shield accessory on her, and I have, a bit more of an end game, mid game, end game type of a build. I will say I have not updated this build in a very long time, so this is likely the same thing I've been using for a year or more on my account. I had her very early on this account, and I've used her in so many different ways. I think the shield set build has been my favorite, although I did have a pure speed build, just utilizing the speed set here with 3 speed sets in particular, and I had her above 280 speed. A lot of times, if you're working on Fire Knight 25, that can be a better route to go, and then put your shield set on somebody like Stag Knight, your decreased defense champion, whoever that might be, or another person in the team. As for her stats that we'll be looking at in today's video, we have an excess of crit rate, so you know that you can play with that. Her crit damage is unimportant, but obviously if you have crit rate, it doesn't help to have, it doesn't hurt to have crit damage. And right around 250 speed, a little bit over 300 accuracy. I don't think that these stats are very hard to achieve. Making sure to mention the masteries here. What I'd like to do is just give you a reminder that you can customize the masteries to your liking and your needs. If you're having a hard time getting accuracy, take Eagle Eye. If you're having a hard time getting masteries at all, just stop with the previous ones like I showed you before. You can see here I did choose the Life Drinker as I mentioned, and I love coming down to Giant Slayer because that's going to speed up your time on the bosses with that triple hitter A1. You're going to be proccing this frequently. I do like Spirit Haste on her, but also there's not really anything else good to take down here, and Evil Eye is particularly good as well. The rest of the masteries are not that important, but I will point out Methodical because she's going to be using her default skill so much. Why not put some more damage on it? So where else are we going to use her then besides Fire Knight? Let me actually show you a good Fire Knight team that I've been working on this account. For those of you who are struggling with Fire Knight 20, Fire Knight 25, or getting faster times, I have a sweet team for you. If we take a look at this team, I'm using what we call a blender style team, which is AoE A1 abilities that deal significant amounts of damage, combined with some ally attacks, decreased defense, and Allure to control the boss. Now, I don't think that I have any viable aura here. Right. So that's why I had that set up. Just wanted to double check. Sometimes I do have a tendency to not utilize potential auras. What I like about this team is that this is the type of team that can grow with your account. If you are using these champions, you can not only use them in Hydra, except for Allure, the rest of them, of course. You can use them in Hydra. You can also use them in Arena and a variety of other places as well. Now, in this team, what we're going to do is we're going to use these AoEs to kill the waves and then use Allure to stop the boss from taking a turn. We're going to save Farrakhan's ally attack for the boss so that we knock down that shield at the beginning and, of course, get some damage in here. I was actually working on this team for level 25. I didn't want to put that level of gear on the champions in order to do it. I wanted to showcase an easier build for you guys, but this team can definitely do level 25. All you need is some more damage on your Sinacia and Skullcrown in order to be able to clear the waves quickly, just like we're doing right now. Obviously, this isn't not like a speed tune. The only thing that's important is that Skullcrown goes before Sinacia because of the way their extra hit abilities work. You can see Farrakhan's ally attack taking down the shield there, and Allure is now going to prevent him from taking another turn. We also have Stagnite to put up the decreased speed. That helps in that whole process. I don't think you need as good of stats as what I have on this team, so try it with your stats first and then see how it goes. You can also remove one of the sisters here, or both, or Farrakhan. Really, the core of this team is just Allure and Stagnite. The rest of the team is just what wave clearers do you want. And you can see here we did that in just a little over a minute, which is pretty fast for a lot of mid-game accounts. A lot of mid-game accounts still struggling at 3, 4, 5 minutes on Fire Knight 20. You could probably switch to this type of a method. And if you are just going with Allure and Stagnite, another great option is going to be Yannica in there. She's going to help you clear the waves. She has multi-hitters. She's another great option. Yannica and Yakarl can both do really serious work in these type of teams as well. The next place that we're going to use her might absolutely be a shocker to you, and that is going to be every single one of the potion keeps. The Allure can manipulate the turn meter on every single potion dungeon, and this is another critical reason why I chose her on my free-to-play account. Let's take a look at that very same team over here in the Void Keep, and this team can do all of the potion keeps, which is really, really outstanding. So we're going to use that same tactic of clearing the waves with Senacia and Skullcrown. Along the way, Allure is going to be a little bit helpful, but she is going to shine on the boss here. Farrakhan's going to put in some work as well. I do have him in a little bit of a damage build. If he dies on the before the boss, it's not even a worry. We can beat this without him. He just speeds it up, but Senacia is there to help as well. And now, once these minions are defeated, we do not need to let the boss ever have a turn. And that's pretty amazing. So you can see here, we have the minions defeated. Now Allure is going to control the turn meter one more time, and we have the boss defeated in under a minute. So Allure is not just a Fire Knight champion, she's a champion that's going to help you in so many areas of the game. Believe it or not, you can manipulate the turn meter on Ice Golem. I've seen some people working with Allure teams there that can struggle with survivability, so you want to make sure you maybe have a Reviver or some very strong support champions. But in your Ice Golem progression, she can be very helpful as well. Where else are we going to use her, you say? Well, there's still a bunch more places where we're going to use her. So let's flip over screens here, and you can see here are the other three main places that we're going to use her. In Faction Wars is the first one. That's the Faction War boss. You can cheese that level 21 as well and never let him take a turn. You would want some type of cleanser, maybe some resistance, some different things there to help you along the way, but she can prevent that boss from taking turns as well. The Blood Shield accessory is of course for the Scarab boss. She has been essential in so many of my Scarab teams. And finally, she goes in very well to most people's Dark Fae teams. She prevents that Dark Fae from taking turns, and once you kill your team, which is the Dark Fae clones, then the boss never takes a turn as long as your Allure is fast enough, and you pair her with somebody like a Coldheart to have other turn meter reducing effects as well. I don't have either of those bosses available to me on this new rotation of the Doom Tower right now, so I can't showcase those teams, but there are plenty of videos out there using her in these three locations, but it would be a crime if I did not mention them in this video. Let's wrap up the video by showing the builds of some of these champions and talking about why you don't need them. So you can see Stag Knight here does have some awakenings. I really tried to limit my use of awakenings whenever possible. I went out of my way and built a second copy of both of Senacia and Skullcrown, so I used more easily comparable versions of them, as well as not having a bunch of blessings on them. That's proving to be harder and harder these days, the more blessings that I do obtain. Now, with Stag Knight, I had him at 223, which is a great place for your debuffer, your decreased defense champion to be. I do have crit stats on him. That is not necessary. The main thing to focus on here is the speed and the accuracy. It is helpful. It's going to speed things up if you do have some attack stats on him. If I were to have more attack, actual attack, he can really start smacking, especially on that A1. He has a very strong A1 multiplier. We already saw the Allure build, but just as a reminder, that shield set works great, especially if you're pairing her in a team with Seer. The Seer teams work very well, and especially with Allure. The Farrakhan the Fat build, we have total stats of 242. That is not necessary in any way. I ran him around 200 with no boots on, and it was perfectly fine. And then, of course, I do have a little bit of damaging stats on him as well, but that is also not important. Neither is the 400 accuracy. For Fire Knight 20, For example, for the potion keeps, you only need 220, 230 accuracy. On Skullcrown and Sinacia, you should try to treat these as minimum numbers. However, you definitely don't need 5400 attack. I'm getting a lot of bonuses from a lot of areas. And we have 235 crit damage. I think a very reasonable build would be 4400 attack. And then, 220 crit damage. I don't have full crit rate on any of these because we have that crit rate buff from Fairkin, but making them 100% crit rate will add to your reliability. In Skullcrown's build, you can see I do have her in Savage. That is not necessary. You can put her in Cruel or Attack offense sets. The Fatal set from Doom Tower is great. Anything that's going to boost your attack can be very helpful. You can see I did just that over here with Sinacia. I was having problems with her being targeted, so I got an Immortal set in here, mostly because she had the attack percentage chest that was an Immortal. I think a better route to having an Immortal set would just be putting a defense ring on her, or an HP ring, something of that nature. But total stats on her, it's going to be around 4000 attack. Again, same kind of damage that we want here. The main way that I'm getting those numbers, by the way, is using attack percentage boots with speed and crit sub stats. That can be a really helpful way to get the attack stat that you're looking for on these champions. You can see an offset provoke boots here with just strong crit rates. And we have some defensive stats and a little bit of crit damage. These are the type of offset pieces you always want to keep on your account for builds exactly like this. So what do you think? Are you on board with Allure being one of the best epics in the game? Please rate this guide in the comments below. On a scale of 1 to 10, how helpful was this for you? What information am I missing that you would like to see in these types of guides? Let me know. I'm always open to your feedback. I always want to hear from you guys. If you appreciate this, make sure you hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more guides, let me know what they are in the comments below so that I can get those here on the channel. I have lots of information about lots of champions. All I need from you guys is what champions do I need to focus on to give you that information on. Thank you so much for watching. You hit that subscribe button, so now you're a member of the Jedi Academy. Welcome on in, and I'll see you guys in the next video.